The human brain may work more like AI than anyone expected. Scientists have just made a discovery that challenges everything we thought we knew about how the human mind understands language, and the implications are staggering. In January 2026, a research team led by Dr. Ariel Goldstein at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem published findings that sent shockwaves through both neuroscience and artificial intelligence communities. What they found was this: the human brain processes spoken language in a way that is remarkably, almost eerily similar to how large language models like GPT work. Think about that for a moment. For decades, scientists believed human language comprehension operated on fixed rules, rigid hierarchies, grammatical structures hardwired into our neural circuitry. Noam Chomsky's theories dominated the field for over half a century, but this new research suggests something radically different. Your brain might be running something closer to a prediction engine, building meaning statistically, contextually, layer by layer, exactly like the AI systems we created. If this finding holds up, it does not just change neuroscience, it changes how we understand what it means to think. Let me walk you through exactly what these researchers did, what they found, and why it matters so much. The experiment that changed everything. The study was published in Nature Communications, one of the most rigorous peer-reviewed journals in science. Dr. Goldstein collaborated with Dr. Mariano Shane from Google Research and Professor Uri Hassan, along with Eric Ham from Princeton University. This was not a small operation. This was a cross-institutional effort combining cutting-edge neuroscience with the latest in AI research. Here is how the experiment worked. The researchers recruited participants who were already undergoing medical procedures that required electrodes to be placed directly on the surface of their brains. This technique is called electrocorticography, and it provides something that standard brain scans cannot: millisecond by millisecond recordings of neural activity with pinpoint spatial accuracy. You are essentially watching the brain think in real time. These participants listened to a 30-minute podcast while the electrodes recorded everything happening in their language processing regions. 30 minutes of continuous natural speech. Not isolated words, not artificial sentences constructed for a lab. Real, flowing, contextual language, the kind you and I process every single day. Then came the crucial step. The researchers took the same audio and fed it through large language models, specifically GPT-2 and Llama 2. These AI systems process text through multiple layers, each layer building on the previous one, transforming raw input into increasingly abstract representations of meaning. Early layers handle basic features. Deeper layers integrate context, tone, implication, the full richness of what a sentence actually means. The question was simple: does the brain do the same thing? The answer was yes, and the match was far closer than anyone anticipated. How your brain builds meaning, one layer at a time. When you listen to someone speak, your brain does not grasp the meaning of a sentence instantaneously. This might feel surprising because comprehension seems effortless and immediate, but the neural reality is different. Each word triggers a cascade of processing that unfolds over hundreds of milliseconds. What Goldstein's team discovered was that this cascade follows a specific temporal sequence, and that sequence mirrors the layered architecture of AI language models with striking precision. Early neural signals, the ones that fired within the first 100 milliseconds or so, corresponded to the early layers of the AI models. These are the layers that handle surface-level features, the raw acoustic properties of speech, the basic identity of words. But as time progressed, later brain responses began matching deeper and deeper layers of the AI systems. The match was strongest in Broca's area, a region in the left frontal lobe that has been associated with language production and comprehension for over 150 years. In Broca's area, the peak neural responses to deeper AI layers occurred later in time, exactly as you would predict if the brain were performing the same kind of hierarchical, stepwise processing. Dr. Goldstein put it this way: what surprised us most was how closely the brain's temporal unfolding of meaning matches the sequence of transformations inside large language models. Even though these systems are built very differently, both seem to converge on a similar step-by-step build-up toward understanding. Let that sink in. The human brain, evolved over millions of years, and artificial neural networks, designed by engineers in the last decade, appear to have independently arrived at the same solution for understanding language. Why this overturns decades of linguistic theory? For most of the 20th century, the dominant theory of language was that humans possess an innate grammar, a set of hardwired rules that allow us to generate and understand an infinite number of sentences from a finite set of building blocks. Phonemes combine into morphemes. Morphemes combine into words. Words slot into syntactic structures. Meaning emerges from this rule-based assembly. This view, championed by Chomsky and his followers, treated language as fundamentally different from other cognitive processes. It was supposed to be special, modular, operating on symbolic logic rather than statistical patterns. But here is what Goldstein's team found when they tested this traditional model against their data. It failed. The researchers specifically examined whether classic linguistic units, phonemes and morphemes, could explain the real-time brain activity they recorded. These are the building blocks that traditional linguistics considers fundamental, and they did not work. The brain's actual processing patterns were not well explained by these discrete symbolic units. What did explain the data? The contextual representations produced by AI models. The statistical, probabilistic, context-dependent patterns that large language models use to predict the next word in a sequence. This is a profound shift. It suggests that human language comprehension is not primarily about applying grammatical rules to symbolic representations. Instead, it appears to be about building meaning gradually through context, exactly the way AI systems do. Think about how you actually understand a sentence in real life. When someone says the word bank, you do not consciously retrieve a dictionary definition and then apply grammatical rules. Your brain instantly integrates the surrounding context, the previous sentences, the topic of conversation, the speaker's tone, and from all of that, meaning emerges. This is statistical processing. This is prediction. This is what large language models do. The convergent evolution of understanding. Here is what makes this finding so philosophically interesting. Large language models were not designed to mimic the brain. Engineers at OpenAI and other organizations built these systems to perform a practical task: predict the next word in a sequence. They used mathematical architectures, transformer networks, that were chosen for computational efficiency, not biological plausibility. And yet, when you compare what these systems do internally to what the brain does, the patterns match. This is convergent evolution in the realm of information processing. Just as eyes evolved independently in vertebrates and cephalopods because seeing is useful, hierarchical contextual processing may have emerged independently in biological and artificial systems because it is the optimal solution for understanding language. If true, this tells us something deep about the nature of language itself. It suggests that there may be only a limited number of ways to solve the problem of extracting meaning from sequential input. And both evolution and engineering have found the same answer. What this means for you. You might be wondering why any of this matters for your daily life. Let me connect the research to something you experience constantly. Every conversation you have, every podcast you listen to, every sentence you read, your brain is performing this layered predictive processing without your conscious awareness. You are running a biological language model right now as you process these words. Understanding this changes how we think about communication failures. When someone misunderstands you, it is not necessarily because they are not paying attention or because they lack intelligence. It may be because their predictive model, shaped by their unique experiences and context, generated a different interpretation than yours did. Both brains were doing the same kind of processing. They just had different priors. This also has implications for education. If language comprehension is fundamentally about building contextual predictions rather than applying grammatical rules, then the way we teach language, whether native or foreign, might need to change. Immersion and context-rich exposure may be more effective than drilling grammar tables. The open dataset that will accelerate discovery. One of the most significant aspects of this study is what the researchers did after publishing their findings. They released the complete dataset publicly. Every neural recording, every stimulus, every extracted feature, all of it is now available for researchers worldwide. This is how science accelerates. A single study, no matter how well designed, is just one data point. But when other researchers can access the raw data, they can test alternative hypotheses, develop new computational models, and either confirm or challenge the original findings. If you are skeptical about these results, and healthy skepticism is essential in science, the open data set means you do not have to take the researcher's word for it. The evidence is there for anyone to examine. The frontier of understanding. We are at a remarkable moment in the history of science. For the first time, we have artificial systems that process language well enough to serve as genuine models of human cognition, and the comparison is revealing something unexpected. Our minds may be less like logic engines and more like prediction machines than we ever imagined. This does not diminish human intelligence. If anything, it elevates our appreciation for what the brain accomplishes. Every second of every conversation, your neural networks are performing computations that rival the most advanced AI systems on the planet. You just do it effortlessly, unconsciously, while simultaneously walking, planning dinner, and wondering if you remembered to lock the door. The next time you listen to someone speak, consider what is actually happening inside your skull. Layer by layer, millisecond by millisecond, your brain is building meaning from sound, transforming acoustic waves into ideas, running a process that, it turns out, looks remarkably like the artificial intelligence we created in its image. Or perhaps it is the other way around. Perhaps AI, in learning to understand language, stumbled onto the same solution that evolution discovered millions of years ago. Either way, the boundary between natural and artificial intelligence just became a lot blurrier, and that might be the most important scientific insight of the decade. If this research changed how you think about your own mind, consider sharing it with someone who would find it fascinating. And if you want to stay updated on discoveries like this, subscribe to the channel. The science of understanding ourselves has never moved faster.